Mimetic desire is one of the core ideas you explore in the book. And I guess the simplest way to put it is we want what other people want, right? And the great romantic lie is thinking that our desires are genuinely ours. When was the first time you woke up to this own lie yourself?
Mimetic desire is wanting what other people want because they want it, right? So not by coincidence. We're converging on the things because they're affecting and influencing us at the level of desire without us knowing it. So desire is contagious. And the first time that I woke up to it, I had inklings that this was going on right after college when I took that first job and, looked around and saw that most of the men in the office were all wearing one of the same 5 watches, and they happened to be the same 5 watches that are in most of the magazines at the airports in Hong Kong. I was based in Hong Kong at that time. And if you've never been to Asia, you know this, Paul, but the airports are different in Asia. They're filled with
high-end.
So many high-end luxury shops, right? And I bought Cartier watch, and that I had no business buying my first year, and that was one of the 5. And I bought it, and within hours of getting home, I was it just dawned on me that I feel like I'm becoming this kind of person. I thought never crossed my mind when I was in New York, and I've been in Hong Kong for 3 months now, kind of absorbing this culture, and the mimesis is just different over there. The kind of things that are important, the totems of status and prestige, are just a little bit different than they are in New York. And it was shocking to me how quickly I adapted, how malleable I was to just shifting to those kind of mimetic objects that I was going after. So that was a wake-up call for me. And it took me a very long time because I left, and then I moved from Hong Kong straight to LA and immersed myself in the startup world, and then I just adopted some different ones. But that was when I noticed for the first time that there was something going on, even though I didn't learn the phrase mimetic desire until 8 years later. I knew we all kind of sort of just have a sense of it, right? Even if we've never heard this term in our life.
The danger there too is you can convince yourself, oh, I'm becoming like them with these 5 watches. And then you can just go deeper and try to make yourself even more special by getting an unknown watch that nobody else has heard of that's even more expensive. Did you fall into that trap at all?
Yeah, that definitely, right? That's the Gerard quote, right? Everybody leaves the beaten path only to fall into the same ditch. And it's why all hipsters look alike, right? That's the joke. Yeah, I did. And there's this all kinds of weird, negative status signaling thing that entrepreneurs do, where it's the more successful you are, the simpler you dress, and the simpler your car should be. I tell the story in the book about Tony Hsieh, who drove this beat up Mazda 6, and I actually had a pretty nice car at the time, even though he'd exited for hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was still kind of bootstrapping. It didn't make any sense. So, and I tell the joke in the book, I started thinking maybe I should drive maybe not so nice of a car. And, but it's just a different form of it. Right. So yeah, all these things, it seems if you have to think too hard about it, something's probably a little off. Or at the same time, you can overthink these things. It's kind of the danger of the whole idea of being anti-mimetic, right? And it's ironic because I read a newsletter named Anti-Mimetic. But that the idea is certainly not to just put a minus sign in front of whatever the crowd is doing. That is not it at all. It's the idea is to simply gain some freedom, some emotional, spiritual, mental freedom to just kind of unplug and be for a while. Just to come into contact with who we are. And when we do that, and I did that through taking a very long sabbatical, which ended up lasting years, by the way. When we do that, we come into contact with these dynamics, these relationship dynamics, the status dynamics, just with different eyes and a different heart and different ears. And, we just kind of, and more emotional intelligence and awareness of what's going on inside of us. But it's, I think if we over intellectualize it a bit, you can end up just doing like really funny, stupid things trying to counter signal. You just end up looking even more ridiculous, right?
Yeah. Was that going to Italy after LA?
It was going to Italy, but even way before I even went to Italy, I stepped away for a sabbatical, really just to dive into kind of re-educate myself, right? I gave myself like a homeschool classical education for 6 months, which made me realize that I loved philosophy. I loved the classics. And I caught myself, I enrolled in this distance learning program at a university, and I enrolled in a class called Philosophy of the Human Person. To this day, best class I've ever had in my life.
Where's that offered?
That is offered at a lot of places, but I was at Franciscan University of Steubenville, Ohio, right? Distance learning class at Franciscan. They would literally mail me this is 2007-ish. They mailed me a three-ring binder. 3-ring binder with CDs of lectures that had been recorded in class, like super bad audio, really bad. And, you just make your way through the binder, you listen to the CDs, and then when you're done, you go take a proctored exam with some alumnus of the university that lives in Vegas. I was in Vegas at the time, and I did. And the crazy thing was I was still mostly running my company, so working 10 to 12 hours a day. And then I would go to a coffee shop. I would get to this coffee shop at like 9 or 10, and I would open up that 3-ring binder, and I would immerse myself. And it was the best part of my day. I would get like a tea. I would sit there. It was 24-hour Starbucks, because in Vegas we have 24-hour everything. And I would sit there until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't want to leave. And I was like, Luke, something's going on here. Like, why is this engaging you so much? And you're miserable going into the office of the company that you built from the ground up. There's something seriously off about that. And part of it was like the voice in my own head had become a dictator to me, like a tyrannical dictator telling me like I need to be doing these things. I need to hustle harder. I need to be in the office by 7. I need to be the last one to leave, and X, Y, and Z. And that was another wake-up call moment for me when I just paid attention to when I was like fully alive, fully engaged in the strangest way possible. Like I never would have guessed that was what was going to do it for me, and that was going to teach me something about myself. And that has to do with the kind of intellectual curiosity that I have that I wasn't satiating in any way. I was just kind of doing like the utilitarian things that would help my business move forward. And that's important, but that's not all there is to it in life. And there was just a lot of kind of big questions, right? Like questions of classical philosophy. Why is there something rather than nothing? All those questions that I was engrossed in. And I did that for a good 6 months. Every single day I went to that coffee shop.
If you like that clip, you can click somewhere up around here for the full episode. And don't forget to subscribe to get alerts for full episodes and clips of the Pathless Path video podcast.